Hi everybody. We're going to start to learn about automated web data gathering. Um, and we'll learn, a couple different approaches to getting data from the web, including scraping HTML, using web APIs. Um, there's a nice tutorial, the scraping for craft beers. It's uses Beautiful Soup, and it's just got some good overall information about things you should know before getting started doing web scraping. Downloads as usual. Um, so the way that this thing is broken up is, as you'll see, I kind of have like an index notebook, and it's got links to all these other notebooks. So we start out with kind of a general overview, move on to automated downloading of files, JSON and CSV files, then learn the basics of Beautiful Soup, and then we'll kind of use Beautiful Soup and do a little bit of data wrangling to get some NBA player statistics out of a web page from an HTML table and get it into pandas. And then we'll look at kind of an accounting related project. This actually was a research project I got involved in a couple of years ago. And we were basically scraping 10K filings from Edgar, which is a site that the SEC publishes. And you have all kinds of financial data, and it's in a format known as XBRL, which is an XML dialect based on for business reporting. And then there's an example of using something known as XPath selectors, and kind of demo these in the context of scraping the Etsy web page. This is actually based on a student project a few years ago, actually from the spreadsheet class. And then we'll do a couple notebooks on using web APIs, and we'll see that it's really nice when a website has an API. Usually it's much easier to get data. We'll learn about things like API keys and stuff like that. And also, even when you have a web API, often you need to do some data wrangling. And so we'll actually look at a couple different approaches for getting some data in. This is from the U.S. Geological Service. This is actually, I have to change, this is actually from the Clinton River now, which Paint Creek is a tributary of. And then finally, there's yet another way of getting data out of web pages, and that's known as CSS selectors. So we'll take a look at that as well. So just to start, I had in the let's see if this is right. Yeah, in the downloads data folder or web data folder, right? We've got all these correspond to all those things you just saw. And here's the index page, which which is the same kind of information that was on our main web page, but it's got libraries or links to each of the individual files. So, for example, if we go to this guy, some overall stuff, some resources, and some important preliminaries. I mean, it is really important that you check a site's terms and conditions regarding scraping. You can get yourself, and I've had people get themselves banned from sites and lose accounts and things like that because they were doing unauthorized scraping. Remember, even when sites allow scraping to be nice, I mean, computers can send web requests very, very quickly. So try to space your requests out a bit. You can put time delays in or run things in smaller batches. The other thing is you can fully expect your scraper to break over time. Websites change, so especially when there's no API and you're literally scraping, you're at the mercy of the web developers. And then often you're going to have to do a bunch of additional data wrangling and cleaning even after you've gotten the data out. We'll use a bunch of different libraries. Certainly request is kind of the main thing for making HTTP requests. Learn how to use Beautiful Soup. And a bunch of other things. And it's really important before you start scraping to explore the website and try to come up with a plan of attack. If the data is tabular in nature, is it if it's in an HTML table, that's usually relatively easy. I mean, Excel does a nice job of extracting data out of HTML tables. Um, and browsers have built-in tools for exploring parts of web pages, so you're going to want to play around with them and start to learn how to use them. I mean, I'm no expert in them. I know enough to be able to kind of navigate around. And the idea with a lot of programs, just like a lot of programming problems and data importing problems, is you're looking for some sort of structure or patterns in the page that you can exploit to make your scraping easier. So, for example, maybe you're interested in some item and you can, looking at it, you can find out it's always inside some div tag that has a certain name. And so you just have to be able to figure out, okay, well, how do I get to that name div tag? So obviously you're going to have to learn a little bit of HTML as well to do this. Okay, all right. So in the next screencast, we'll take a look at automated downloading of data files.